Hey, hi everyone. My name is Megan, and my presentation is on the challenges of born digital records and preservation. So, what are digital born records? They're records that were created natively in a digital format. So, that would be like emails, videos, databases. And then, why preserve them? Uh, they're to protect historical, cultural, and institutional memory, and also to ensure access for future research and accountability. Which is probably a big reason why we preserve a lot of things. Um, but there are challenges to it. The first one being volume and complexity. Born digital records are growing exponentially, especially with things like social media, emails, multimedia, and proprietary systems contributing to vast and varied formats. And digital journalism is also kind of big, especially with a lot of newspapers posting more of the news articles online. Um, and places such as ProPublica's Dollars for Docs relies on dynamic databases, making them challenging to archive compared to something in a static format. And then the fragmented nature of personal archives spread across multiple platforms, like a Facebook or an Instagram, which complicates preservation efforts. So that's also a problem. And then technological obsolescence is the next one. Legacy systems and outdated software often result in inaccessible records. For example, emulation is required to preserve interactive news apps like Snowfall from the New York Times. And then platforms like MySpace suffered catastrophic data losses, emphasizing the risk of relying on proprietary systems. And then the last one is inadequate infrastructure. Um, Lack of scalable preservation tools and underdeveloped metadata systems hinder long term storage and discovery. And then the slow shift to second generation digital archives has left many institutions um, unprepared for the complexity of born digital collections. And then institutional challenges. Um, the first one is that there's a preparedness gap. Surveys of UK public institutions found that 83% had no formal plans for managing board digital transfers, leaving critical gaps in readiness. And then small organizations lack access to robust infrastructure and training, sometimes making it harder to adopt standardized practices. And then the next one is sensitivity and privacy. Um, Social media content and personal archives often contain sensitive data. Um, for example, reviewing personal photographs and posts for privacy re- concerns requires significant resources and time. And then ensuring confidentiality while maintaining access to public records remains a challenge, especially with legal requests for deletions. And the last one is policy constraints. The Modernist Archives publishing project, also known as MAP, has faced difficulty securing copyright permissions for archival documents, highlighting broader issues with intellectual property laws. And preservation is further hindered by cross jurisdiction differences in data protection regulations, such as the GDPR in Europe. Um, And these are some of the challenges that are present in um, digital news preservation. The first one is the ephemeral nature. News apps like PropPublica's Dollars for Docs are highly dependent on APIs and external databases, making them inaccessible through web archiving tools like Archive.it or something like that. The degradation of links and embedded multimedia accelerates data loss, also, which contributes to the quote unquote digital dark age. There's also uneven resource distribution because large organizations like the New York Times and ProPublica have resources to mo- monetize and preserve their archives, while smaller newsrooms cannot afford similar investments. And then local and independent publications often lack the tools to preserve data rich projects, leaving uh, gaps in the historical record. And then the last one is lack of coordination. Efforts to archive digital news are fragmented. Institutions often use incompatible metadata standards, leading to missed opportunities for interoperability. And then without collaboration, large scale preservation projects cannot effectively prioritize at risk content, especially from regional outlets. So that's also kind of a challenge. And these are some digital preservation strategies. The first one is adopt linked data. Projects like LinkJazz and War Sampo show how linked data creates machine readable records, making information easily accessible across systems. And then linked data is particularly effective in connecting just disjointed archival collections, such as like feminist publications and underrepresented contributions. And the next one is to build scalable infrastructure. Um, and server to server transfers and cloud based solutions reduced reliance on outdated physical storage and improve scalability for both uh, for born digital archives. Um, and the third one on here is to foster collaboration. Community based initiatives like documenting the new leverage local knowledge to preserve activist generated content um, from platforms like Twitter. And then there's a couple more on here. Um, the first one is create and implement a digital preservation plan. So that would mean establishing a plan that addresses long term stewardship, including data storage, backups, and access policies. And the next one is using standards for metadata and file formats, applying consistent metadata standards to ensure discoverability and interoperability would help. And then prioritize widely supported open file formats for better future access and use. And the last one is community engagement, um, which would include working with other organizations and communities to share best practices and resources for digital preservation and promoting public and scholarly awareness of digital preservation needs. These are a couple practical solutions that I found when doing research. The first one is proactive planning, and that would include training archivists in handling digital formats and metadata management. And also developing long term strategies for lifecycle management. Um, it also included adopting standards like the FAIR principles, which is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And some additional insights I found included AI tools like ReproZip uh, to simplify the preservation of dynamic digital environments like news apps. Um, I believe this article also mentioned using AI and automation for metadata creation. Um, I don't know how people really feel about AI or kind of where we're at on that, but that was a suggestion that I found. And then also, fair standards improve reusability um, of uh, digital archives, which was really interesting. And these are a couple case studies that I found. One was from the UK National Archives, where a pilot program on social media preservation demonstrated the challenges of capturing highly ephemeral data while navigating privacy and copyright concerns. And also, limited metadata capacity made it difficult to adequately catalog growing volumes of born digital government records. So that was kind of an issue for them. And then there were some news preservation efforts. Um, and the Internet Archive apparently uses advanced and scraping tools to capture news articles um, through dynamic elements like embedded videos. Though dynamic elements like embedded videos are often lost in the process. And then regional libraries and grassroots projects focus on preserving local journalism, such as collecting snapshots of online news during elections. So that was kind of interesting. And then other efforts I found was that there was a feminist preservation effort through MAP that uses critical metadata practices to document marginalized contributors in publishing, which shows how focused initiatives can close representation gaps, which was really interesting. Um, so these were some recommendations that I found. Those included build robust and adaptable digital preservation infrastructure, increase funding and cross sector collaboration for large scale efforts, advocate for international standards in preserving diverse digital formats, encourage public engagement to raise awareness about digital heritage, and inclusive funding models that prioritize small organizations that can reduce resource inequities in digital preservation. This is my conclusion. So, born digital records are essential but vulnerable due to technological obsolescence, privacy issues, and infrastructure gaps. Preservation strategies include linked data, scalable infrastructure and collaboration, and the action needed is investing in tools, training, and partnerships to ensure long term access to digital records. And these are my references. Thank you for watching.